One Piece chapter 1041. Now it seems like things are finally coming to an end as we are getting closer and closer to the finale, that is Luffy versus Kaido. That is the only battle that's taking place at this point in time, given that Raizo was confirmed as the winner of his battle. So that leaves Luffy versus Kaido left. But things are still a bit complicated as there are still some moving pieces that's going on, and the three major moving pieces as of right now is stopping Onigashima, which is currently being dealt by Yamato and Momonosuke. There's the CP0, given that he has new orders to actually kill Luffy now, which is kind of impossible unless he tries to assassinate him. I'm not sure how that's going to play out or why the government is giving this guy such an impossible task at this point. And then finally we have Luffy versus Kaido being the third major piece, right? Now while it does seem like these three things are sort of separate things on their own, it's looking like they're all going to culminate to something together. So these last three moving pieces are going to intertwine, and since we are getting closer and closer to the end of this, it's very likely that Kaido's backstory is coming as well. Not sure when that's going to be, but it's going to be sometime very soon, as we did get little flashbacks here and there with Kaido and Big Mom in this chapter, and him sort of reminiscent of his days back when he was Rocks and when he initially met Big Mom. So it does seem like Oda is setting up little seeds here and there that is ultimately going to result in him getting his flashback pretty soon. So that's something a lot of us are waiting for. But as usual guys, I would appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Let's go for 500 likes. Definitely helps me push out more content. Subscribe if you're here and hit the bell if you want to get notified for future content. Now first things first, we have to talk about the Kaido and Luffy's situation right now, because that is easily the most interesting thing about this chapter, as there are some things that we can talk about other than the fight itself, which again was a pretty cool fight. You know, the usual advanced conquerors hockey clash all over the place, but I think it's time we move on to the next level, because that's been happening for like 10 chapters, right? Luffy and Kaido have been spamming advanced conquerors for quite some time now, and it's starting to get a little bit boring in terms of the fight itself. So now that we're actually diving into this battle, I think we need to move on to the next level of strength or power or form for both Kaido and Luffy, and that's obviously what's taking place here based on Luffy's words here, and I'll elaborate more on that. Now I think it's fair to say that it was obvious that Luffy wasn't going to beat Kaido in his base form. Even though he has advanced conquerors haki, he needs to use something much more powerful to actually put Kaido down for the count. While advanced conquerors haki has been putting in work for Luffy, we're seeing that Kaido's mythical devil fruit is playing its role in terms of Kaido's durability and endurance here. This is why Kaido is able to take so much blows from Luffy without actually sustaining any long-term injuries that we're seeing so far anyways. Same can be said about Luffy, but Luffy, we're starting to see that he's definitely getting closer to his limit. So in order for Luffy to break that barrier, Luffy has to upgrade his power, in which he goes into Snake Man, and this is a very interesting choice, and I think the reason why Luffy does this is because advanced conquerors increases your attack potential so much that he's able to hurt Kaido in base form, and since we know that Luffy's Gear 4 forms are very physical in nature, it makes sense for Luffy to choose Snake Man, because this is the form that grants him the most attack hits more than any other form. And since he has advanced conquerors, he would essentially replicate the same power that he would get in Bound Man to say, but in the case of Snake Man, he has more speed, therefore more hits. So I think Snake Man was easily the best choice here. We do also get to see Luffy's new attack here, which he calls Hydra, and I think this might be an upgraded form of his Black Mamba skill set, but here he names it Hydra because it's using Conqueror's Haki. And again, just like with Katakuri, Kaido isn't able to follow the speed of his attacks and takes a barrage of blows. Now Luffy says something very interesting here, in which he states that this is going to be his final Gear 4 form, indicating that this is going to be the last time he will be able to go into Gear 4. Now we know that he's been able to go in and out of Gear 4, and he's been doing that very consistently recently, but here I think it's very clear at this point in time that he intends on staying in this form now, which essentially means that there is going to be a point in which his haki is going to run out, since Gear 4 uses way too much haki, and even more so now given that he has Conqueror's Haki on top of that. So he's using more Conqueror's Haki and more Ornament Haki, so this is going to be very draining for Luffy. But at the same time, he does have mastery over Ryo. I would like to imagine that his time limit is a bit longer now, but Luffy was already exhausted going into this fight, so there's a lot of factors that goes in here. Now I think me and a lot of people were of the idea that Luffy was going to use another gear, a new gear, to defeat Kaido, and I think Oda saying that this is going to be his last Gear 4 form could be a deviation tactic from Oda once again, where he wants us to think that this is going to be Luffy's last transformation, but in reality there's more, there's something more, right? Which I do think that there is, because I don't see a Yonko level fighter lose into a form that's been used for Yonko commanders, even if it has advanced conquerors. Kaido is on a whole different level from these guys, and I think we need a new form for Luffy here, and I think Oda kind of hinted at this multiple times in different interviews in which he states that he's excited to draw something for Luffy, and I would like to imagine that this is most likely his next form. And again, if you guys want to know what I think Luffy's next form is, you can check out my video on the Sun God transformation. Links will be in the description. But basically, I think that Luffy's next form will revolve around the use of fire and will be related to the Sun God. But I think it's very obvious that we're going to see something other than Gear 4th, and this chapter makes this even more apparent, especially with the conversation with the CP0 agent, in which he apparently receives new orders to change his priority from Robin to the elimination of Luffy. Obviously, the Gorosei know something new now that they didn't know beforehand or something, and again, given the context that we've had prior to this, it could be related to the importance of Luffy's Devil Fruit, and that has been mentioned twice now in this arc. Initially with, who's who and the Sun God thing, and then we had that one scene where the Gorosei were talking about a devil fruit that had a specific name. Now we don't know what devil fruit that is, but they could be referencing Luffy's fruit there, or Luffy himself. So maybe whatever power Luffy's fruit possesses perhaps will be related to Luffy's next form, and I think the God of Fire or the Sun God most likely ties to this as well. And there's also the possibility of Shanks being very suspect here, as he did mention to the Gorosei about a certain pirate. So what if this certain pirate is actually Luffy? I think this would change a lot of things that we know about Shanks, because that's definitely not the norm coming from an individual like him. So I wonder if he played any part in knowing about revealing something to the Gorosei about Luffy himself or Luffy's devil fruit, because again, with Shanks, he was the person that initially had that devil fruit in the first place. So again, there's a lot of things that we can talk about there, but this might potentially bring Shanks in the light again as to his true motives if he actually did mention Luffy being that certain pirate. But in regards to Luffy's next form, again, I think this will be most likely the last Gear 4th form that we will see, but definitely not the last form. And I do also expect Kaido to be awakened, because if he's not awakened, then that would be very underwhelming, because if none of his commanders are awakened, at the very least Kaido himself should be awakened, right? Because we haven't actually seen a mythical devil fruit user awaken. We haven't actually seen ancients, but it's very likely that they share similar awakenings, at least when it comes to the normal and ancients, but I think mythicals may have something much more different. But overall, I am definitely looking forward to this, because what comes from this fight definitely tells us what comes next. And this would mark the takedown of another Yonko in a single arc. This would be unprecedented in terms of the One Piece world. Now, in regards to the CP0 agent and him interfering with this battle, first of all, I don't think this guy is even strong enough to get in between those two. I think he even states this here. So he has to take a much different approach, maybe attack from afar when Luffy's guard is down or something. But even then, I don't think Kaido is going to let anyone, join this fight, because Kaido himself is enjoying the battle. So again, it's very unlikely that this guy does anything here, and even more so now given that X Drake has regained consciousness, and it seems like X Drake is going to play a role into stopping that particular CP0 agent. So we'll see how that pans out. Now, apart from Luffy versus Kaido, we do also have some other interesting plot points. In the beginning of this chapter, we get to see Yamato and Momo, and something interesting that we do learn here is that the most important page of Oden's journal was ripped out. So the information about what they saw at Raftel was something that Oden removed on purpose for so-and-so reasons that we don't know about, right? This is cool because it was one of the gripes that I think a lot of people had, because we essentially had something that could potentially tell us what the One Piece was, and this was also used as one of the reasons as to why some people think that Yamato wouldn't join the crew, because she knows way too much information, which I did agree on, because her going on a journey with them and knowing about the One Piece just seems kind of weird. So I was very skeptical that she was going to join the crew, but now it might not necessarily be too bad, even though she does still know a lot of things, and even Momonosuke now, because Momo actually read the entire book, so he understands his importance now. So again, when it comes to Momo and Yamato joining, given the information that they do know, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it would be cool to have them on the crew, but again, the journal has a lot of secrets that the Straw Hats probably haven't encountered yet, and Luffy does not like his journey to be spoiled at all. It's way better if everybody goes in completely blind on this journey to reveal the secrets as they progress their way into the new world, and then finally into Lodestar and then Rafter, right? But again, I'm not entirely against Yamato joining. I just find those bits of information that they do know a bit weird to have someone on the crew like that. But again, we'll see how things play out from there. But this is very interesting because it adds more hype and allure to what they actually saw at Rafto. Now we do also have Orochi and Hiyori. Here it seems that Orochi is stressed out to the max like usual, but here we come to see that at the end of all of this, he ends up being at the mercy of Hiyori, because it would seem that some of the rubble from the top floor had fallen on him, and because Hiyori stabbed him with sea stone, he's essentially unable to transform, therefore leaving him stuck there. Now I'm not exactly sure how this is going to end, but I do recall Hiyori saying to Zoro that she wanted to kill Orochi with her own hands, and that seems to be where this is going, but I'm not exactly sure if that's going to take place. I do also want to mention that we haven't seen Denjiro yet, so I wonder if he shows up here, as his story is kind of intertwined with Orochi and Hiyori. We also get to see that Izo was capable of taking out one of the CP0 agent as well as injuring the other one, which was very impressive because he came into this fight injured, and I think this confirms that that CP0 agent has no chance in eliminating Luffy unless Luffy is on his last legs, which might be the case of what he's going to do, but it seems like X-Drake is there to stop that from happening. You also get to see the Straw Hats and how they're doing. Seems like they're just more so focused on recovering. Kid and Law, of course, still exhausted from their battle against Big Mom and just waiting for Luffy to finish off Kaido. We do also get to see Zoro here again, and luckily enough, he was able to be caught by Frankie before he fell out of the island. Again, we're still in the dark as to what Zoro saw at that point in time, a couple of chapters ago, but it's easily one of the more interesting things that we've seen from the last few chapters, and I wonder if Oda is going to talk more on that, because what exactly did Zoro see? And we know that was in Brook because we saw Brook in another part of Onigashima in the previous chapters, so interesting stuff there. But overall, this was a very good chapter. We covered a lot of things actually, and it would seem that the main focus now will be Luffy versus Kaido, so this next stretch of chapters is going to be amazing, so I'm definitely looking forward to all of that. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video, comment down below what you guys think, subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel, hit the bell if you want to get notified for future content, and again, you can follow me on Twitter at FerroSpace. But it is Ferro, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.